Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper and I'm back for Gerda Steiner Designs, and I'm going to be using this Fall in Love set to create a fairly clean and simple love card. Today's cards are all about stamping an angled sentiment background, a really easy way to do that. But before I get to that, I am going to colour up my images ready to go for the front of the card. I have the owl couple here, and I am using my Misty to stamp them out because I'm really liking the way the images look once I've coloured them and I come back and restamp them. So my first stamping, I'm actually using the Tuxedo Black Memento ink because I want to do some Copic colouring, and I'm just partially inking up some of this tree because I only want to use one branch out of this tree, so there's no point in me stamping the whole thing out. I'm using my owl go-to colours. I don't know, they're not my owl go-to colours. I don't know what my go-to colours are for owls, but I am making them kind of a neutral colour because I don't know, I do a lot of bright cards and I thought today I'll just do something a little bit different. So keeping my colouring really simple, I did start with my middle shade. I don't know why. I added some shadows in, blended them out with my lighter colour, and then I've brought my darkest colour in and just added a little bit on the edges. Alright, so I'm going to leave you with the colouring now. The lids are going to be off to the side and I'll be back when all of this is done. And I did decide to flip my branch around. I didn't think that it really mattered. I just wanted it coming from the right hand side of the card, and the way these leaves are drawn on this image, it's not going to make much difference at all. And I did fussy cut my images out as well, just leaving a small white border. I've got a sentiment. This one comes from the Buckets of Love stamp set, and there is the word love in this stamp set, in the Fall in Love stamp set, but this one was just slightly bigger and I thought I'd go with that. But if you only had the other stamp set, you could easily replicate this background. I have a panel of cardstock. It's cut to the same size as my card front, and what I've done is actually laid down the word on the panel on the angle that I want. When I lined up my Fiskus stamp press, I used the lines of the grid on the plastic to match the lines on the edge of my cardstock panel, and then I've simply just eyeballed it. Otherwise, as long as the lines of the grid are straight up and down and across, horizontal and vertical on the cut of the panel, I know that the angle of the word love is going to be exactly the same all the way. You probably notice while I'm stamping this out, this isn't perfect. The lines aren't perfectly set apart, the words aren't perfectly set apart, but in the end product or the end design, you really can't tell because it's a background. It's not, doesn't have to be perfect, and no one is ever going to notice. But if you did want it perfect, you could actually draw some pencil lines in, and that way you know it's all going to be exactly the same. I am using some Onyx Black ink because I know that that gives a nice bold sort of look. But I reckon this would look fantastic with a nice bright colour as well. Now I purposely chose the large Fiscus stamp press because I can move it around without the orange foot pads hitting my cardstock all the time. And now I'm just showing you again, each time I'm stamping it, I am lining up the cardstock with the grid lines. I'm not worrying about where the paper is on the or everything. As long as those two lines are straight, it works perfectly. I'm going to die cut a heart now out of the panel, and I want to pop up the outside edge of the panel. So to do that, I'm holding it in place on the top of my top fold card and then adding some adhesive to the die cut heart, and then I'll just hold my outside panel in place while I basically make a jigsaw puzzle of the heart and pop it in there. I did it really back the front the last time I did that. I added the fun foam before I lined up the panel. It made it really hard. This was much easier. And I'm just showing you here that I did pop up the front panel, but I lost some footage, so you won't see me actually put it on the front of the card, but I simply just removed the score tape and then just set it over top so that it centered over that die cut perfectly. And then all that was left to do was add my little branch, and I used some dotted adhesive, and I also popped up the branch where it was going to be within the die cut, and then I just had to pop up my owls. I have a little flower that I popped on the little girl owl's hair. I don't have hair, on her feathers. And that's my finished card. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll link everything below. So I'll see you next time. I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Till then, happy paper crafting. Bye.